Welcome to toy-polloi. Parental guidance. This video contains scenes of Lego destruction.
Hello and welcome to another video from toy-polloi, and in today's video we're going to be trying to complete this vintage Action Man Space Ranger Commando. Now over on toy-polloi 2 you'll have seen that recently I was very kindly given this by Simon. He sent it along with a whole load of other pieces and it's a really lovely figure, but on closer inspection I realised that there were a few pieces that weren't actually original to the figure. In fact the gloves and boots are not from the Space Ranger Commando, they are from the ground assault version of Action Man. He's also missing the little armband that should be here on his arm, and the tube that goes from his gun to the back isn't an original one, it's too long and it needs a little bit of modification. So today I want to get this looking as close to original as I possibly can by updating all of those pieces, and then he can go on display with the rest of my action men. Now over the last couple of months I've actually been hunting down the missing boots and gloves. They are particularly hard to find, they seem to be sort of ones that everybody wants to get. This is one of the harder of the action men outfits to find. I managed to pick up one glove off eBay in a bulk lot, so this was the left glove, and then Simon actually sent me one boot that he had as well, so I've had one glove and one boot. And then I've recently just done a trade with Darren, the toy boy, and bought the other two that I needed, so I now have all four of them. I've got two boots and two gloves, so that was the first part that I needed for this project. They're very easy to replace now, just take them off and put them back on. But we do need the little armband there. Now I've shown how to make those before. In fact, if I bring over my talking Space Ranger Commander, this armband is one that I made. I made this a few years ago using just some iron-on sort of printer paper. You know, the stuff you print it out and then you iron it onto fabric and you can make all sorts of t-shirts and things like that. So that's how I made this, and I'm going to use exactly the same technique today. But the first thing we need to do is actually design the armband. The armband that goes on the Space Ranger Commando says Trooper First Class on it. So using this one as a basis, let's get the artwork made. With that artwork file now designed, I printed it out onto some iron-on transfer paper, and then using a little bit of off-cut fabric that Mrs. toy-polloi had, I ironed the transfers onto the fabric, let it cool for a bit, and that left me with this. So as you can see now, I've got that transferred onto this fabric. I actually did it onto a couple of different bits of fabric. This was the first one that I used, and I thought it was a bit transparent, so Mrs. toy-polloi happens to have some other white sort of cotton. I've transferred it onto that, and it doesn't look too bad at all. So you can see I've already cut one out. This is what it looks like. It's just a little strip of fabric, but it doesn't look like an armband. So what we're going to have to do is fold it over like that, and then just do a little row of stitches down there. Once that's in place, we can then turn it inside out, and we should have an armband that will fit quite nicely onto Action Man's arm. So let's get that sewing done, and we'll test if this works. Okay, so as you saw when I started to turn this one inside out, it started to fray. This thicker material obviously just isn't quite the right sort of thing to use. So I've gone back to the initial material that Mrs. toy-polloi gave me, which is a bit thinner, and that one worked perfectly. So this is the version of the armband that we're going to use. Let's bring the figure in and test if it fits. I've seen these on both the left and right arm. I'm going to be putting it on the right arm. I think they were originally sort of glued to the jumpsuit, but this one you don't need to. Just be able to pull it up the arm like that. And yeah, there we go. That's it, looking really quite nice. I think that's as close to the original as I'm going to get. And this is, as I say, exactly the same method as I made for the Talking Space Commander. So works very nicely indeed. That's great. That's that part of the outfit finished off. Now we come on to the hose that attaches the gun to the backpack. This isn't an original hose. What's happened here is a orange hose, which I think maybe came from the Action Man Seawolf or something like that, has been sprayed black. And it works quite well. It actually fits. It's got the same sort of connectors on each end, so it does fit onto the gun and it fits onto the backpack quite well. But it's just too long. So when you have this on the figure, there's so much hose hanging around, it really sort of sticks out and becomes a bit awkward. So I want to chop this down, make it a little bit shorter. Now I've not done this before, but I have a feeling it should chop quite nice. It does feel like rubber, and I think it is solid as well. So my plan is I'm going to sort of chop out about that much of it and glue the two pieces together. But if you just glue two pieces together, there's not enough sort of surface area to give a good bond, and it's liable to snap again. So my plan is to actually drill a little bit of a hole into the end of the bits that I cut and insert a piece of Lego whip antenna. So this is a Lego whip antenna. I've got one that I've already used a bit of the end of this. So I'm just going to cut a small section of that out and insert it in and glue that in place, and I think that should give it enough support. So what we've got to do is sort of chop this down and make it a reasonable length. At the moment I think it's just way too long, so I'm going to say if I chop out, yeah, probably about a third of it, I think that will be about the right length, and then that will fit on the figure a lot better. So I'm just going to cut this, then drill a couple of holes, and we'll glue it in place, because I want this little end piece. You can see the end is a nice sort of fixing, and that is what fixes on the gun. So yeah, that's the piece I want to keep. Let's get chopping and see if it works. As I say, I've never done this before, but my sort of idea I think should work. Okay, that's done. In fact, even without glue, that's a fairly sturdy sort of join, because the hose is made out of rubber. It really grips on quite nicely. So I may even get away with not doing any glue on that. But you can see I can actually pull that quite a lot. Yeah, That's not too bad at all. I think I will glue it just because I've got some, glue here by my desk. So a little bit of super glue. I'm going to put a very tiny amount on. I don't want to put too much, just a tiny bit either side, and we'll glue that in place. But that has worked remarkably well, and that's a really strong fixing. Shouldn't cause me any issues, and I don't think that will come apart in future. So now we can get this guy all dressed up. We'll start by putting his tabard on, which has the sort of extra little backpack piece on it. Just put that over his head, and there's some clips under his arms here that clip in place, like so. Now we have the correct boots. So these are essentially black versions of the $6 Million Man Mission to Mars glove and boots. These were used commonly on the Space Rangers for Action Man. I guess it was a very cheap way of them reusing bits from other toys. We now have the gloves as well, so we can put his gloves on. So now we've got the gun. So this has the hose attached. You just pop the hose on a little peg there. The other end of the hose attaches on the back there. And this gun then has this little clip which clips onto the glove like that. That's much better with the shorter hose. The long hose was just getting in the way. And then we have the helmet. So let me rearrange everything. We'll stand this guy up with all the rest of the Space Rangers. And there we go, there is the finished figure, and he's really looking lovely now. It's nice to just do these sort of final few tweaks sometimes on toys like this. I like to try and get them looking as original as possible, and this one just needed those few little things doing, getting the right boots and gloves, sorting out the armband and shortening that hose. Although everything is not original, it looks like it should be original, and that's what matters to me. And as you can see, when you've got them all on display like this, they look really fantastic. So that is now, I have a full set of the Action Man Space Rangers, and I'm really pleased to have them. This is a line that I've absolutely loved right since I was a child, and it's something I've wanted to complete for a very long time. So I do need to say an absolutely massive thank you to Simon for very kindly sending me in the last figure that I needed. If you need to do the restorations yourself on your figure, then the file for the armband will be available for free from toy-polloi.com, and you can get all the other files that I've made for the Space Rangers there as well, because I've done quite a lot of work on them over the years. So I hope this video has been of interest to you. If it has, then make sure to hit the subscribe button and tap the bell to be notified each time I upload a new video. And thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching toy-polloi. Subscribe for more great videos. You can also follow toy-polloi on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.